Hi everyone, this is going to be my review of Maybe Someday by Colleen Hoover. This is my very first Colleen Hoover book, and guys, wasn't disappointed. Gonna come back for more. They're gonna be spoilers, so yeah, go away. But yeah, go read it though. Go read it. I gave this 5 freaking stars. It is so good. Guys, I don't think you understand. I don't think you understand my love for this book. This is my, like I said, my first Colleen Hoover book, and oh my gosh. Okay, so let me tell you a little story. I was rewatching somebody's hauls because whenever I get bored, do other people do that? Because I don't want to be the only one who goes back to old, or not old, but booktubers videos and just rewatch them, because I totally do that, especially book hauls, especially if I'm in a slump, because it tells me what I want to read. Okay, sorry, I'm rambling. And I heard, it was Christine's, Paul Bananas Books, and I heard her talking about Slammed and Point of Retreat. I'm like, everybody talks about Colleen Hoover. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go on Goodreads and I'm gonna investigate, because I have heard of her and heard of her and heard of her and heard of this woman, the goddess of the world, Colleen Hoover. I have heard about her for so long. It's kind of like Fangirl. Everybody shoves it in your face for good reason. Same with Fangirl. But anyway, so I very, very, very deeply investigated this woman's books. I read the synopsises a couple of times to kind of get the synopsises, that's a word, the synopses, I guess, and to get it kind of in my brain. And then I read some non-spoilery reviews and some GIFs, and everybody loves them. The one I wanted most was Slammed, because it seemed like it was the best, and also I found like a little audio tape thingy of it on YouTube, and that was fine. I can't really keep up with audiobooks, but I tried, and I listened to a little bit of it, and was so good. So the next day I went to Barnes & Noble, and the one I wanted was Slammed, and I asked if they had it, and they're like, we have this, 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 and this. Oh, that's the only one we don't have. And in my mind I was like, huh, shocker, you have all of them except the one I have. Good job, Barnes & Noble. But maybe someday they did have, and this was my second book of hers that I wanted to try. They did have the sequel to Slammed, which doesn't make any sense to me as to why they wouldn't have the first freaking book. Okay, but anyway, this was the book that I was going to get if they didn't have Slammed. And oh my word, I was not disappointed by this book. It was so good. I attached to the characters like that. The second we met them, I fell in love with them. And guys, I almost started crying like 5 times during this book, especially at the end. Oh my word, wherever it says, Ridge like talks for one of the first times, or not one of the first time, like for, he doesn't talk much, so he talks, and he's like, my heart belongs to you, and he says it really slowly, and I was like, he talked for her. And then Sydney started crying, and I'm like, I know, right? But like, I attached to these characters immediately. I thought Sydney was resourceful, and she did what she needed to do, and sometimes I forgot throughout this novel that she was 22, because they were, all of them, and Ridge was 24. To me, they were more like 17 and 19-year-olds. It's not exactly that they were immature. I've just never read from the point of view of like a 20-year-old. So I put it in my mind that they were like 17. So that's how I always imagined them. And this girl does not really look 22. She looks more like 18 or 19. But, I felt sympathy for Sydney whenever she realized her boyfriend for 2 years was cheating on her with her best friend. I bet that sucks. I have yet to find someone to love me. So I don't know how that feels, but I bet it doesn't feel good. So whenever that happened, I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's so horrible. I feel so bad for her, especially her best friend. And I'm just like, whatever. And their relationship was purely physical, and I'm like, okay. But I loved Ridge, one of my top 10 book boyfriends, just because, kind of like the torture dark musician type, just yes. I thought it was really cool how at the beginning it says some things like before she realized that she was being cheated on, and she would hang out on the balcony and she would listen to Ridge and she would talk about it, and she's like, I shouldn't be thinking about him, but his music is really nice and all that. And I was like, so I also loved that Ridge cared about Sydney's feelings enough to think about telling her that she was being cheated on, because he saw Hunter and Tori on the porch, like, together. And I think it's very nice of him to want to spare Sydney's feelings. I'm glad that he did end up telling her because she did need to know. But I thought, like, it was just really gentlemanly of him to be like, it's gonna hurt her feelings. And it was her birthday, which really made me feel bad for Sydney. But, like, and one thing I didn't like about this book, I really like Warren. I don't really like the type in books of the annoying, inappropriate best friend. Like, that's why I did, oh god, what was that guy's name? In An Abundance of Catherines. He had a really weird name, like, Huevo. Not Huevo, I don't think it was that. Start with an H. In An Abundance of Catherines, I could not stand that guy, because, like, I mean, I definitely, like, I have no criticisms of John Green's books. Do not mistake that. I don't like that type of character. They're, like, the best friend that's, like, inappropriate and, like, obnoxious. I don't really like that. So Warren uberly got on my nerves. And he's like, wear that dress again. And I'm like, go kick yourself in the face. And finding out, I mean, I already knew they were going to fall in love. You can tell from the synopsis. And, I mean, the second you meet these characters, you're like, oh, so they're going to fall in love. I mean, we all knew it was going to happen, and I loved it. And it wasn't an insta-love is what I really liked about it. Is because most contemporaries are like, blah, 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 I hate you, JK, love you. Because in this one, their relationship developed properly because they both realized that they do not need to be in a situation. Bridge, because he already has a girlfriend, and Sydney, because she just got out of a relationship and she doesn't need to be hurt again. She was very smart not to just move on again. And what I liked is that Ridge, while he did care about Sydney, he genuinely cared for Maggie and knew that it wasn't right to love Sydney. So he kind of pushed away those feelings, but, you know, the heart wants what the heart wants. So he must have just had those feelings, and I shipped them so hard, guys. I don't think you have any idea. The fact that Ridge was deaf, I think, was such a big contribution to the story, and the fact that, I mean, he's a musician, guys, and he's deaf. He can't hear. And whenever, oh, it was so sad when he said, I've never wanted to hear anything more in my life than to hear her sing. Like, he was jealous because he wanted to hear. And he was like, that's the first time I've ever been actually depressed that I couldn't hear. And I was like, oh my god. It just, oh, it was so sweet. Ridge is so perfect. And Hunter can go die in a hole. And so can Tori. I don't, yeah. And whenever Hunter knocked on the door to talk to her, I'm like, don't let him in. Kick him out. So, you know, also, one thing I didn't like about Sydney, she got mad a little too easily. Like, Ridge would say something kind of kidding. I think what the problem is that she was sensitive. Because she was like, I can't take his tone. Well, he doesn't have a tone because he doesn't talk. But, like, text tone. There's always a tone in text, you can tell. But, like, she was a little sensitive, but I guess that is necessary to her character because her heart has been tampered with. She was messed with because of her boyfriend and her best friend cheating on her, and just all that. I mean, her heart would be torn up for a while, and that's why I'm glad that Rich came along and sewed it back up. I just thought it was so good, and guys, I cannot wait to read Slammed. I want to read that book more than anything in the entire world. I was so freaking disappointed when they didn't have Slammed at the bookstore. But this one, so glad I went with this, guys. It was absolutely amazing. I cannot wait to read more of her books. I'm going to wait to read Ugly Love because that's, I heard it gets kind of like risque. So I'm going to wait till I'm a little older to read that one. But Slammed and Point of Retreat, the little sequel thing he's going on. And then what's that other one? Oh gosh, now I feel smart. Well, I don't know. But, oh, Hopeless, that one. Yeah, I really want to read that one. So, you know, I highly, 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 highly recommend, but I don't really know why I'm saying this now, because if you're still here, that means you've already read it, or you're just being here and being completely spoiled, so, you know, whatever. Anyway, go recommend this to your friends. How about that? Yes, book. 5 stars. Yes. So, that was my review on Maybe Sunday. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.